we can overcome those question marks and problems by implementing an effective manifesto and policies in dealing with the problem of the land poor, for example, removing the large number of squatters and IDPs that we have in our country, in making sure that we allocate resources for education, for health. That way people can see that the government is doing what it was elected to do. And when they see the results of what the government is doing, then they can change their mind. But there are some people who, for ideological reasons, you can never convince because they want particular leaders and particular parties. You would remain opposed because it's only some few months since this new government was elected. There is not enough time for us to be able to judge it probably on their performance. So therefore, I think in the next year or two, people will begin to see this change in terms of their lives changing because there has been an input by the government in education, in health, in infrastructure, and education.
In constituencies, there is a problem at some mosque there, and Al-Shabaab, and Isli being a lot of Somalis. And the insecurity is terrible, according to what happened to you. I don't know what can be done to sort out the good and the bad.
Well, first of all, I think we live in a globalized environment. Yeah. People move fast from one place to... For example, I can give you... Recently, there was a polio outbreak in Somalia. Yeah. The first time in many years. There are only several countries in the world with polio. It's Pakistan and Nigeria. So it came from and Afghanistan, one of those three countries, to Mogadishu. Within some few weeks, there was an polio outbreak in Dadaab, and then here in Nairobi, which shows how closely connected we are globally. So insecurity as well, rebel groups, terrorist organizations, violent elements also move very fast in this environment that we have of communication and movement. And it is not an exception that, in fact, that Nairobi has the people, elements who want to harm us, who want to damage our economy, who want to kill and maim people. And I think the best way you can deal with those people is through effective policing. We have a police organization. What they can do is encourage and have good connections with the local community, build a good relationship of trust, so that the local community can believe in their police forces and be part of the solution. Investigation. I think there has to be a very good investigative intelligence networks that follow these people and take action before it happens. Because it's usually too late when somebody plants a bomb or does an explosion. And I think Isli is not an exception. There are many other areas of Nairobi, because of mobility. If I wanted to do something, I would not directly live in Isli. You can live in Kileleshwa, you can live in Langata, you can live anywhere. In fact, if you noticed the trend of terrorism, is that these terrorists are recruiting other people. In recent cases, many of the people who have been accused of terrorist activities, who have either been killed or arrested by our security forces, are not Somalis. Yeah, they are new converts, people with grudges, people who feel excluded, marginalized. And this is another element of underdevelopment. When you have underdevelopment, there are people who feel they have been excluded from the political process, they have been excluded from the economic process, like what is happening in the coast areas, people who feel they have been dispossessed. And this is why when you have an effective elected government, like in our particular case, that they can address these issues through dialogue, through discussion, through social and economic empowerment and political empowerment, because the space is open. I was a dissident rebel many years ago because there was no space for people like us. Our policies and our ideas were not accepted. You would go to jail. Now, that space is there for all of us. Articulate your problems politically.
Just what do you want to think about the extraordinary addition of Kenyans to Uganda and wherever? I
think that was really unfortunate. It was completely wrong. It is unacceptable that we would be outsourcing our security issues. It is against our constitution, constitutional right. It is completely wrong, and I think it is a mistake that should never happen again in our country. If we have some people who are accused of committing crimes, they should be tried under our judicial system and our political system, not taken to a foreign country without due process. And I think the current government is aware of that. In fact, the deputy president played a big role in going to Kampala to see President Museveni about our brothers who were taken to Uganda. And he fully understands the problems that we face because of these mistakes. And in addition to that also, the arbitrary detention, the arbitrary search without due process, stopping people, going to homes at midnight to attack suspects. All these things need to be dealt with under our new constitution because they're not right. They are against the basic human rights of ordinary people. I think we should improve our intelligence capacity by zeroing in to those rotten apples among our midst. And I think I don't think I would be able to see redemption again in our recent times.
Looking at the December incident, have you received any reports as to who perpetrated that and why? And do you live in some sense of fear anytime you travel?
No, I haven't received any report. I mean, none of the suspects have either been arrested or brought to book. Not only in my particular case, but about the other 10 terrorist attacks that have taken place in my constituency. The country bus incident, the bus Matatu incident. Over 26 people have been killed in those attacks. Not a single arrest, not a single person has been brought to court and sentenced. And this is quite worrying because it tells me that there is something wrong with our ability to deal with terrorism and to criminal elements of that kind. But in the case of fear, no, I don't have any fear. In fact, it has emboldened me. I feel more committed to what I'm doing. I feel encouraged in what I'm doing. And I think they have failed. If their attempt was to kill me or to damage me in such a way that I wouldn't be able to carry out my work, they have failed. I'm alive, I'm active, and I feel vindicated because I think the ideology of violence, the culture of violence in this particular case, has failed to achieve its objective. The culture of peace, tolerance, and understanding has triumphed in our particular case. And you can look at it, the way that people have reacted to it. They have completely rejected it. Be they Muslims or Christians, they feel abhorred by what has happened. And I feel people see it for what it is, that this was unjustified violence that was intended to cause harm.
Mm-hmm. There's a great deal of messages coming in here appreciating you, saying, Honorable Yusuf, you're a true leader with a servant heart. May God give you strength to achieve your goals. Somebody here, a couple of them actually saying they want you to talk about the road system. Somebody saying about Mother and Child Hospital in Isli, First Avenue, that particular road. And then General Waruinge Street, it's taken almost 1 year to repair, a stretch of less than 5 kilometers. What is your word on that?
Yeah, in fact, it is the construction of General Waruinge and First Avenue is one of the high points of the development projects that started under my membership when I was elected. And it is a major development project that would transform transportation in our constituency. However, the constructor has been very slow in the process. So far they have only done maybe a third of what they were intended to do in the same period, and therefore it has disrupted transport in and out of the constituency. It has affected businesses, and it's putting a lot of businesses at risk because there's no way of trading. It has increased the risk of health because there's a lot of water clogging when it rains. And we have been in touch, in dialogue with the construction company, and we expect them to accelerate the process.
Can't you cancel the contract?
No, I think that would be a drastic action because, you know, if you cancel a project, it has to be re-tendered again. In the meantime, what do you do? There's a lot of undone work. It takes several months. Even money might be taken back by the Treasury to do other things in other areas. Therefore, we are urging them to finish their job as quickly as possible. And it's progressing. It's progressing very well. But what I would say is that that maybe what needs to be done is the Kenya Urban the Kenya Urban Roads Authority, KURA, should have very stringent policy in which the construction company can be taken to task. In other countries, if you don't finish your project on time, you're penalized financially. And therefore, the companies meet their objectives because they know they're going to lose. But if you know that you're not going to lose anything, then obviously, the tendency to miss your deadline is likely to be the norm as it is.
Perhaps as we wind up, have you ever sat down and perhaps regretted why you were a member of parliament, especially in relation to what happened?
No, never. I think it was a conscious decision. I thought about it very thoroughly. One of the things that I get excited about is that maybe because of our policies and our country's position, a member of parliament is expected to achieve a lot of things. But in most countries, parliamentarians are limited to legislating. But in our particular case, the member of parliament is expected to be the patron of the whole constituency. If you are sick, if you want education, if you want any kind of help, the person you go to is your member of parliament. But for the period that I've been a member of parliament, one of the greatest excitement I get is the fact that for example, bursaries, is the bursaries we give to orphan children, the bursaries we give to very poor families in some of the shanty, some of the slums in my constituency. Last year we gave more than 3,000 of them. One of the beneficiaries or several of the beneficiaries of the bursaries have done extremely well. Like one of my constituents went to Maranda High School in Western Kenya, and he was the top student there, one of the top students in the country. We are providing him support through the bursary. He comes from a very poor family that perhaps would not have educated. But this is a brilliant student who would not have been able to finish his secondary school if he had not been helped by the bursary. He's now going to university. We're going to sponsor him for university as well. And these little things make a lot of difference. Is that I have come back, I'm using my skills and knowledge to be able to improve the quality of people in my constituency. And this is something that you can never regret doing because it is making a difference. It is little. It is a drop in the ocean.
What do you think about MPs legislating so that they have total control of CDF money?
Well, I think it is important that if I'm accountable, for example, if I'm told that the CDF is under your mandate,